Hi, this is Jerry, JC Seiji, and welcome to an episode of the Legacy series. This is going to be a kind of a special episode because, normally as you have been watching my different video series, that with the Legacy series, I've been showing things. And this time I'm going to do something different. So this is episode number 14. Okay, and with this episode, I'm going to tell you about my mother's mom, my maternal grandmother. And the picture you're looking at is the only picture I have of her. I am guessing this picture was taken around 1905. I have to guess, I have no information. One thing I regret is asking a question when I was younger, or my parents giving me any information on their family history, which they did not. Most of my information I got with my father's mother, my paternal grandmother, got me into the history of the family. And so, well, I want to introduce you my grandmother. Her name is Carrie Wood. She was born Carrie Wood. She's part French and part English. And she apparently in the late 1800s, the railroads started moving into Oklahoma. And in Oklahoma, that was, of course, called Indian Territory. And my maternal grandfather was part Creek Indian, and he was living on in the home with his parents in eastern Oklahoma. And what they did in those days was farm. And so I don't know how these two met. This English white person and this red man basically met. But apparently she came in on the railroad and probably went to some town. I was told by one cousin is that women often rode the rails to looking for husbands in those days. And my grandfather was, he was a son. They had land. They were farming, probably raising corn. That was the main crop for them in those days. And besides having like pigs, they also raised pigs for meat and chickens. And so I have a feeling because back in those days it was mostly trading, not so much money. You didn't go out to the store and just buy stuff with money. You went to the store and took what you had, crops or whatever, and trade it for what you needed. And money probably didn't start going into that area until the railroads came in, because they paid their crews in cash. And so somehow or another, my grandmother came into the area where my grandfather was living, and they somehow met and got married. And I believe this picture that you're looking at, it was taken in around 1905. Okay, let me see if I'm right. I can't really tell you I'm right. I'm just guessing. And I have this picture. It shows, from a picture, it shows her with her husband and their first daughter. I presume it's their first daughter. And she had an interesting life. Nowadays, we have no concept of what life was like then. You see the movies, but the movies don't really tell you anything much. But let me show you that in, let's see, in 1910, 20 years later, she looked like this. This is, I'm estimating 1930. She has aged quite a bit. And kind of has become matured, weathered, experience. And she basically had to be. In those days, it was a hard life. This woman actually had, let's see, at least 9 children. And 2 of which, one died at birth, and one died probably within a year or 2 of being born. And she had, what I know about, she had 5 daughters and 2 sons. And I think they're all gone now by today, as far as I know. And she, that's hard for a woman to have to attend to the things she dealt with, as well as raise children. And it's it really is a testament to their strength they had to be willing to deal with what they had to deal with. And so what I want to do is kind of tell you about that life, that from what I could understand, what I saw when I was a kid and visiting their home back in the 50s that I can remember. And so this next picture I'm showing you is, I'm not too sure if this is my mother or one of her sisters in front of my grandparents' home in Oklahoma. It's just basically a wood frame home sitting on blocks there. But you can notice that there's a porch there too on the right side, and in front, and the lady is standing in front of a bedroom, okay? And off in the background on the right side is a smokehouse. At this time, even in the 50s, before this time, there was no plumbing, there was no electricity, there were really no paved roads, and means of transportation was wagon and horses. And they had a well, okay? And you had to go out and drop something down into the well and pull the water up. You had a stove, a wood burning stove, so you had to cut wood. But fortunately, in eastern Oklahoma, the trees grow like weeds. It's amazing how fast everything grows. It's because of the type of weather it is. And if you let land lay fallow, they call it, it will soon be covered by small trees. And so they had plenty of wood, and they had the smokehouse. Now, the smokehouse is what they used to help preserve meat. And that meat, for the most part, was pork, pigs. And I believe they probably had chickens, and they probably had pigs, and they may have had a milk cow or 2. They definitely had a horse at least one horse. Okay. Back in the early 1900s. Okay. And so here it was. I mean, you have no indoor plumbing. You had an outhouse that, and you had a well. And you had a wooden stove you cooked on. And so that's a pretty interesting challenge for anybody. But this house that you're looking at is a really neat house. And it had, let's see, there's like, I would say at least 3 bedrooms in it. And it had that front porch, and behind that front porch was a living room. And behind that living room was a large dining room. And to the left side, or the west side of the living room, of the dining room, was a kitchen area where there was a wooden stove. There was an area where they had a basin, and I guess they drained the water. They pulled the water out. A well was out the back door, and you bring it in a bucket, and they had a basin where you just pour water in the basin. I believe the water was drained down underneath the house. I'm not too sure about that, or could have been tossed out in the back. I can't recall offhand what I saw. And they had, of course, whatever, whatever was necessary to have to work with food in that kitchen area. And let's see here. Let's see what this is. Oh, okay. The next picture will show my grandmother. I guess this is probably in the 1940s. Okay. Late 40s, maybe early 50s. Sitting on the steps of the front porch. You see that porch? And you get good detail on the door and the window there. And on the right side, you see just a hint of the fireplace. That was how the house was heated, by one fireplace. And besides the wood stove in the kitchen. And that was, that's what kept them warm. And in this area, they had hard winters. Not only did they deal with cyclones, tornadoes, for which they had dug out a cellar out in the back. You run out the back door and into a cellar, and dug out into the ground and close the door and hope you survive. And hope there's no snakes down there that will hurt you, because snakes will get around in little places like that. And this next picture, which shows my grandmother's handwriting, and her standing in the distance in the snow. That snow on the trees, it shows her in the snow. And as they had pretty hard winters, and surviving without central heating, just a fireplace and a wood burning stove, that can get old awfully fast. And that was it just shows you how tough a life it was. But she did quite well for herself and her family, raising 9 kids successfully. And here's another picture of her in her garden. She loved flowers, and she had, I think, roses. She liked roses. And this is probably in the early 50s, and 1950s. And it shows you her and the type of dress they wore then. And let's see here. Oh, okay. And here she is with one of my cousins. This picture here shows the fireplace that was built. I want to make sure I show you that. And let's see. Let's try to. And okay, here she is again in front of her bedroom window, and it just shows you the type of wood frame house it is, and the casement around the bottom of the house is just blocked. Sometimes they have stones in there. Let's see here. Okay, and this picture here is taken in the 1930s. Maybe sometime in the mid-1930s. I threw this in here because if you look behind the car and off on the left in the distance, you'll see a building. Okay, and that building was the Worst House. And that's a house where you went in and they had a stove and you heated water on the stove, and you had a metal galvanized tub, and you fill that thing up with warm water and took a bath in it. That's how it was done. And then I guess you haul the tub outside, dump the water out. And way behind the Worst House, there was a barn and a stable where the animals were kept. And they had chickens running around all over the place. A chicken coop was actually to the right of that Worst House. Let's see here. Let's go on to the next picture that I have here. Let's see. Oh, okay. Now this shows my grandmother with my grandfather, and this is probably taken in the I think 1960s. And I'm not too sure this is. Yeah, this is probably in her home in the 1960s. And by this time, she's, let's see, if I figure a sissy, approaching 80 years old. Okay. Approaching 80 years old, or in her 80s, maybe. I'm not quite sure. I'm just guessing on these dates. But and they were still living in the old house. I think they never left that old house. When she left that house, it was to be taken to a home to be taken care of because he couldn't take care of her. He himself ended up in a home and was essentially was losing the use of his legs, and he was also put in a home, and maybe the same one, I don't know, or if that occurred at the same time or later on. I think for him later on, but sometime in the 1970s, she had really gone down. She was in a home being taken care of. She had I guess Alzheimer's, or anyway, I don't know if Alzheimer's really, or just gotten old to a point where her memory just failed. And this is right the last picture I have of her before she died. Sometime, I'm guessing in the mid 1970s. She lived to be 96 years old. And she has accomplished a great deal surviving and dealing with with the life that she had. But it was hard, but it was living, and it's like nothing anybody I know ever has gone through. Nobody has gone through that I know of. Not living nowadays. We have it easy compared to how it was for them then. So anyhow, this is my tribute to my mother's mom, and I'll leave you with a final picture of her. So I hope you enjoy this. Till next episode. Bye for now.